So today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a commercial hatchery. These are all chick brooders. So you need an incubator and somewhere to brood them after they hatch. You're pretty cute. Yeah. This is the lowest maintenance system. And trust me, I've done a bunch of experiments. This is the best way to do it. But we're going to make my favorite automatic feeder for the system, my favorite bulletproof automatic watering system, gravity fed. And it's all done from components from today's sponsor, RONA. All of the components of today's video were purchased from my local RONA store, over the counter, easy to get, with the exception of the IBC Tote tanks and a few drinking water nipples. I spent most of my time in the plumbing section getting 1/2-inch PVC and PVC fittings. Forgot something. As well as for the feeder, 4-inch PVC fittings. They had everything I needed: heat lamp bulbs, the chain, wiring, tubing, all plumbing fittings, bulkhead fittings, valves, everything needed to make a turnkey hatchery. Enjoy the video. Your time is precious. This is an all-encompassing video where I tell you everything. I didn't spread it out to waste all your time. Anything you want to know is in chapters in the video description. You're welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So these are called IBC Totes. I'm making 3 more Brooders. I made 1 prototype, worked so good. I'm cutting the top off so I could use these just as I use my fish tanks, but these are for raising chicks, ducks, heritage chicks, baby turkeys, things like that. So the first thing we got to do is take these 2 bars off. Now these totes can be purchased for about $100 for food grade ones. These ones had organic coconut oil in them. So we're trying to make this as minimal amount of work as possible. That's why we're cutting it at this height. The way that I'm doing this is I'm using the deep litter method, which I use for my barns and everything. It works excellent. Chips and crap up to this height, which still gives them that height by the time they go to the barn. There's no cleaning out anything. You add some wood chips, add a little bit more. There should be probably about that much bedding, and always nice, fresh, dry bedding on the top. Trace all around just above the cage here on all your totes. After you have your line traced, you got to pull out the totes. And then get a jigsaw and cut on your line. So you could use the tops of these as a grow bed in hydroponics, but I'll show you what I do with them. It's like a roof. Then switch to your angle grinder. We're going to cut the cage off where we marked the totes. Ta-da! We don't need this piece. And then we put the tubs that we cut back in. Done and done. So this is the exact same way that I made my tilapia and trout aquaponics fish tanks. There's no penetration to it. It's completely waterproof. I could fill this with water and raise fish in them. For ease of cleaning this thing, you put chicks in with a little bit of bedding, and then they poop on it, and then you add a little bit more bedding, and then they poop on it. Isn't that nice wood chip mulch? Too bad it doesn't have chicken poop yet. But that's what you guys are for, your other job. The whole time, the little automatic drinking system, the little cups are going to be leaking. They're going to be making a mess. You layer it up, layer it up, layer it up, maybe this much. And what do you got there? You got manure, chicken manure with wood chip bedding or straw or something. When the chicks are feathered out and ready to go to the barn from in here, you can use a pallet jack with these or the forklift. Take this out. The feeder is portable. The water is portable. The heat lamp is portable. Take those out. Take it over to the compost pile. Dump it out. Sanitize this. Pressure wash it off. Bring it back in for the next batch. I'm done dealing with wood. I'm done dealing with temporary systems. This is a awesome, awesome, cleanly way. This will stand the test of time. I never have to build anything else after I built this system. Now for the automatic chicken feeder, couldn't get more simple. 4-inch PVC pipe, available in the plumbing section, of course. And then you get a straight 90, not with the curve, because I want this to sit nice and flat. And this slips in. I'm not even going to bother gluing it. So the feed comes down, chicken eats from in here. And then I even got caps that you put on the top for when you fill it up with feed, so no crud gets in there. But first, we got to cut this 10-foot section into 4 or 5 foot lengths. I just measured 4 feet is a good length, and I'll show you what I do with the other 2-foot section so we don't have any waste. Let's go cut this on the miter saw. So we're going to do 4-foot sections. Miter saw is just easiest. For me, it's all set up. If you don't have a miter saw, you can use a Sawzall, a hand saw, whatever you want. Pretty simple. There's our vertical feed tube. Now the reason we use 4-inch pipe instead of this 6-inch pipe is because it is cheap. You get bigger than 4 inches, it's hard to find fittings, and things get really expensive. If you've got unlimited pockets, then get some 6-inch pipe. It just holds more volume of feed for you. So we've got all of our pipe cut in 4-foot pieces and then a 2-foot piece left over. So what we're going to do is find our 90 degrees, not a gradual 90, but a tight 90, so it sits flat on the base, like of the wood chips and stuff in the brooder. So this and this guy. So this has the male end and a female end on one end, so it just slips in. Now, I'm not even going to glue these, so all these components are reusable if I need. But this is the feeder. Look how it sits nice and flat. And I put it on the side of the brooder tote, and we're good to go. So the feed falls down. The chick can reach their head in there. If you used a fitting to make it flat and put a cap on, there'd be some dead spot for feed. This doesn't have any dead spot for feed to get rotten in there, stuff like that. You can glue it if you want, but I'm not going to. And then when you put it in there, I also bought caps. So fill it up with feed so no crud gets in the top. That holds a lot of volume of feed in a 4-foot piece of pipe. Now the 2-foot section, I'm going to make a small brooder. A buddy of mine, or a couple buddies of mine, want to start hatching chicks tiny scale, and they need a little feeder too. So I'm going to make them a couple. Same thing, the 90 fitting and the 45, one end male, one end female. And you have a mini feeder for the little tote. Let's finish making all of these. And there you have it. That is 5 feeders I made in about 10 seconds with simple components. See how that sits flat, and you just put a bungee cord on the side of your tank. It doesn't take up much real estate, is the reason why I like feeders like this. If you have the room, let me show you how you can make another feeder with a simple pail. So another way to make a feeder is go get yourself a standard pail, and then off Amazon or a livestock place, you can get these little fittings. Get a hole saw the right size. I am going to measure up 4 inches. It's a good height for these. And I'll put one on this side too. Maybe I'll put 4 in. Very simple. Get your hole saw. I'm gonna just go slow. You drill a hole like that. This part goes inside. This part goes outside, like this. So again, this takes up more real estate, but the feed goes into the bottom of the pail. The chick or chicken or even ducks can get their little beaks in, and they don't make a mess with this. But the trouble is it takes up too much real estate. That's why I make it out of 4-inch PVC. So there you go. You can get these little components, and then when you're at RONA anyways, just grab a standard pail, like for $3 or $4 or whatever. You can put a lid on it, but you literally put feed in there. In this case, I'm going to put oyster shells in my main chicken coop, but the main chicken coop has real estate. I could even hang it off a little bit higher if I want. But in the case of the hatchery brooders that I'm doing, PVC pipe. Now for the zero maintenance automatic drinking system. This is the first prototype that I made. I like it so much, but we're going to make some changes. This is all with over-the-counter stuff from my local RONA, except for the specific agriculture drinking things. So this is 1/2-inch white PVC, everything, all of the fittings. You have to get, with your drinking nipples, 1/2-inch PVC to 1/4-inch threaded. Now the 1/4-inch threaded fits all components for the different drinkers. So here's a drinking nipple that just threads in. Or there's all sorts of different kinds. And I use different ones for different purposes. So for ducks, they kind of need a dish to get their little bills in there. But for chickens, just these standard drinking nipples. Now this prototype that I made, I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't need that many. I'm just going to put 4. So let's get to cutting all the main components from our local RONA. So with my prototype, the pieces of just standard 1/2-inch PVC, we got to cut 3-inch, bunch of little 3-inch pieces. So the easiest way to do that is pick yourself up a PVC cutting tool, and we're going to just measure out 3 inches all the way along, because we need a whole whack of them. It doesn't have to be even perfect either. So I'm going to cut it off at 30 inches. This is kind of a ratcheting tool. Look how simple that cuts. And then you click it back. This tool is great. Check out the pump I've got. I'm going to be like Popeye. So based on my prototype, let's lay this puppy out. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. This time I'm only going to put 4, actually. So we need all of our little 3-inch pieces. Then for the end, our 90. And a T fitting on the other end. Need like that. And then our agriculture specific funny little fittings. So let's just dry fit this whole thing to show you. Okay. Now actually, instead of a 3-inch, I can get away with just a tiny little bung at the end. So we're not wasting pipe and space. So let's cut some 1.5-inch long pieces. So let's take a 3-inch. Just cut it in half here. Just need a little bung. Want to make everything as compact as possible. So the little 1.5-inch fitting at the end. So we got 4 stations, and once this is built, when the little cheap Amazon drinking nipples and buckets screw up, which they will, you just thread them out, but this will stand the test of time, right? So this is what we're trying to do. Now, with this prototype, it worked very good. We want it low to the ground, and as the bedding comes up, we just simply lift it up and put it on the bedding as their poop and wood chips kind of rise. So it looks like I just did a tiny little bung, again at just 1.5 inch piece. So cut one of our 3-inch pieces in half, put that there, T-fitting as the base, same on the other side, and just our T-fitting makes our little stand for us, like that. And then I carried this out to give it a little more stabilization on the front. So we'll just do a 3-inch fitting on the front, 3-inch fitting here. And then got to cap the other end because that's all filled with water. Was the easiest, most foolproof way I could think to do it. So that, cap, cap. Now this is where the water comes in. So this guy, glue in 1/2 inch to threaded. And then I switched to this because I like using standard poly lines. So we're going to need some Teflon tape, but this goes in here. And we need to cut another little connector piece like that. So all we have to do now is glue this all together. Because all of these leak and chicks are messy, that's why we do it out of a sealed container. So whether it's a storage bin or the IBC tote with lots of bedding. So we're going to have a little bit of leaking and the chicks make a mess, a little bit of water, give them more bedding. So between bedding, poop, and water, what do we have at the end of it? We're making garden soil at the same time. And this is very low maintenance. You put more bedding and you lift it up a little bit as the bedding comes. That's why we made a stand and are not connecting it to the side. Very, very simple. Okay, we got to glue this up now. So to make my life really simple, I'm going to use this as a template, lay out this piece to glue, this piece to glue, and this piece to glue. So I don't have to deal with the whole thing all at once. And we're going to make them all the same. You could put this T on this side if you wanted the water, but I want all my stuff uniform and the same. So I can glue this up separately, this up separately. Now let's make this side of it. So this makes sense to me to deal with gluing this separately than this, then separately than this, and then putting it all together afterwards. So I'm going to make the rest of these. One, two, three, four, five. 4 nipple or 4 drinker automatic watering systems for 5 broody chamber hole systems. Almost zero maintenance. This is a lot of fittings. It's going to get a little bit messy. That's why I have my cardboard, but I'm not using a primer specialty cement, just medium gray cement. This is gravity fed, no pressure water system. So most important, get all these straight here. Well, that's 1 completed, so 4 more to go. I'll see you in a minute. And done. We used an entire thing of PVC cement for that. So the next part of it is 1/2 inch threaded to 1/2 inch barbed, because this is going to be our waterline hookup. We need Teflon tape. Rolls away from you, hold the fitting in your left hand and give it a few turns. Thread it in there so the threading goes the same way as you rolled it, or the Teflon tape goes the same way as you tighten it. And this is just gravity pressure, so it doesn't need much. And that's the fitting to hook it up to the water line. Let's do the rest of them. Now I know your next question is, where are you going to get the water from? You got a 1/2 inch line for water to come in. Well, let me show you. Now for gravity-fed water, just with a pail, we don't need to even get an expensive bulkhead fitting, but I would like a valve on it so we can turn the gravity water on and off. And we could actually use 1 pail to go to 1 drinker in 1 simple system, or 1 pail to go to all 5 of them with some simple T fittings and whatnot. I was just looking on the bottom of the pail. Made in Canada pail. Isn't that neat? That's why you kind of shop at RONA. But let's drill as close to the bottom as we can. Enough to get the fitting in. Trace it around. Mark the center of the hole we got to drill. Find your proper bit, like this hole saw bit. That's going to fit my pipe through. And I'll show you, instead of an expensive bulkhead fitting, this is what we're going to do. a little nub of our 1/2-inch pipe that fits perfectly in there, a valve, we're going to glue that in, and any kind of fitting that you have kicking around like this connection fitting. So we're going to just glue our own bulkhead in. Why make things complicated? So this piece goes on the inside and the valve right on the outside. Put our valve on and press. There, instead of an expensive bulkhead fitting, that's what we got. So whatever fitting you had on the inside, little piece of pipe, and the valve right on the outside, let that set. We need a little nub, that fitting, and then a threaded fitting so we can put a barbed fitting to our sprinkler, standard sprinkler hose line, 1/2-inch. Now, one of your chores will have to be putting water in this maybe once or twice a week, fresh water, put the lid on, or you can pick yourself up a float valve, drill a hole through the top of your pail, somewhere there, and then put the float valve bulkhead fitting through, like so. Tighten it up, and you can put whatever fitting you want and connect pressurized water to this, and the float valve will stop the water from coming in, and then the rest of it is gravity fed. So then if you want, you never have to fill up water yourself and eliminate that chore completely with pressurized water. So with that float valve, I just made myself a step up fitting. So I'm going to PVC cement this and take it to 3/4-inch sprinkler line, which is what all of my farm's pressurized system is. So I can just literally tee off something and have this gravity system always filled and eliminate my watering my chicks chore for the rest of my entire life. I think that's worth it. If your setup isn't 3/4-inch sprinkler line, if it's 1/2-inch sprinkler line, get that fitting. If you want to hook this up to a pressurized garden hose for a little operation, just get a garden hose fitting. Everything's readily available. Then with some standard 1/2-inch line, one end goes into your drinker, and I wouldn't even bother putting a clamp on that, it's just gravity. The other end goes into your pail. So let's attach some of my favorite chicken watering things. So these guys have a little rubber washer to seal up. I'm going to put one at each end. So this, with the regular components, will stand the test of time. These will always screw up and leak, but you can easily replace them. These drinking nipples, I just put one loop of Teflon on, or a couple loops. So that's a finished drinker. Now, when you're hatching ducks, ducks can't drink out of these. So I put these on, so they got a nice pool. And in an effort to make my life easier, I have all of them. I like these the best, so I put 2 of these and 2 drinkers. The chicks will have water all the time. Doesn't matter if it's ducks or heritage chickens or turkeys. This works for everything now. Now, also, if you just want to get yourself a pail and some of these, they also come with a wing nut. So you can drill a little hole in the bottom of your pail, fill this up gravity with water, put a float valve if you want, if you have the real estate. Because we don't have the real estate in our IBC tank brooders, this takes up a lot less space and is very simple. So that's all the feeders, multiple different kinds, and waterers, the best. Trust me, after doing this many, many times, this is going to stand the test of time. Easiest, low maintenance, awesome. Remember all those bars off the IBC totes I told you to keep? Well, now we can hang the heat lamp off of them all. So now you can put some wood chip bedding in. So that feeder we made is going right in the corner, And the waterer we made is going right in this side. Perfect. Almost done. So that feeder sits nice with that 90. Then so our little feeders don't tip over, we just use a little bungee cord. Now, because they're nice and sheltered in here, it's not drafty, I think I can get away with using less energy for a heat watt bulb. So RONA had these 100-watt bulbs instead of my standard 250-watt bulbs. We're trying to save energy, right? And then I have a whole bunch of my heat lamp shrouds, and I'm going to put this on a chain that I got from RONA, and then I can lift it up and down. So put it right next to the chicks and lift it a little higher as there's more bedding and the chicks get a little bigger. How much chain do I need? I'll give her 24 inches. For this 4 IBC tank system, I can just use one because I put that float valve in, make sure it has water all the time. And just with some T-fittings, I can connect everything to gravity fed all the waters. So automatic waters, automatic feeders, maybe once a week or twice a week, go check, make sure everything's good. But one chore is get some food, take the cap off, and pour the food in the lid. I should make a funnel because I'm making a mess. Oh well. But it works good. Put the cap on so no crud gets in there. There you go. Now, if you're just a tiny little homestead, feel like hatching maybe a dozen chicks or something, you can pick up one of these totes, make the same type of feeder, make the same type of water, maybe even drill just a couple holes through the totes, put the waters on the side, heat lamp clamps on the end, gravity fed for the watering system, put some bedding in there, and you're good to go for, you know, your dozen little chicks, little temporary brooder. And everything is removable. You try to do it like that and make sure everything's cleanable, and for sanitation, pressure wash it, even use bleach in between batches. Same thing I did on a big scale, you can do on a small scale too. So thanks again, RONA, for sponsoring this video. It was a pleasure to buy all of my components, as I usually do, from your local RONA. The staff is always very helpful. You always have everything I need. There's always sales. Everything's competitive prices. So thank you very much. If you're looking to set up a commercial or semi-commercial or even small-scale hatchery with brooding tanks, I would highly suggest using your local RONA to buy all of the components because they have everything that you need. Now, this operation between my one small incubator and these grow out things can produce my little farm and homestead a minimum of $24,000 a year in day-old chicks. Now, if I want to have them in here and grow them out more, the value of those chickens increases in value. I have hatched thousands of chickens now, well, chickens, turkeys, and ducks on my homestead, various different situations. It was time for me to spend some time, spend some money, get all the proper fittings at my local RONA, set it up perfectly so it's low maintenance for me. So literally $24,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but with this, there's not much work to do it. I enjoy doing it, and it's one of the dozens of side gigs that I do. I always build things and build the infrastructure to make sure that I don't have an ongoing chore for the rest of my life. Some of these components that I built, the automatic waters, the automatic feeders, the IBC tanks, they don't degrade. All you have to do is wash them in between batches. You can utilize them in different scenarios. It will stand the test of time. This will last, even if most of it's stored outside for some reason. for my grandkids to have a little business if they want to make $24,000 minimum per year. Now, my local larger hatcheries sell heritage specialized breeds for a minimum of about $20 for a day-old chick. I have heritage breeds and very good lineage, but it's a barnyard mix of all the best heritage breeds. I sell out at $10 a chick, a day-old chick. So that's no feed cost, no nothing. You don't even need this. But if I grow them out to the time where they have feathers, they can kind of survive outside, the price goes up on those. So when I say a minimum of $24,000 a year, that means I keep my incubator going, the proper percentage of eggs that hatch, and only day-old chicks, and at half the price of my hatchery. So do this on a year-round basis. It's very simple, but first you have to do the infrastructure to get yourself set up. So thank you again, RONA, for all the components. And I am super happy to make another income stream off my small farm. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Hey guys, this is like the penthouse suite. Look at this. Everything was from a place called RONA. These little cuties, look at these guys. They're so cute.